You're tuned into RX Radio. Movement prescribed. Brought to you by Prescript.com. A personalized approach to keeping you healthy and making your best even better. Your hosts, Dr. Jordan Shallow and Dr. Jordan Ginta.
All right, welcome back, guys. Welcome back to another episode of RX Radio. Jordan coming to you from eastern suburbs of Sydney. I've been hiding out in Bondi Beach. That's funny. Before all this stuff went down, I had a close friend of mine say, look, man, this dude's like in the know, like go somewhere you want to get stuck. So here I am. So we're riding out this COVID thing. Not so crazy here. I hope you guys are staying safe. Here, just hearing some of like the regulation stuff coming through. And you know what? This good time for this episode because it's always good for a laugh. Having Ryan Fischer as a friend that I've met kind of just through the industry in the last couple of years. Dude just gets it. But before we get into that, Prescript Level 1 coaching certification course is now live online for sale and has been up for the last couple of weeks. We're going into the last week of registration. Spots are filling up. 16-week curriculum. We go through shoulder, hip, and spine, applied biomechanics and anatomy, and then the second half of the course, we get into the training side. So really good fundamental basis. If you guys are interested, we have a lot of details about the course on the website, prescript.com. If you guys want the course description is going to be in the show notes, and you can link out to that. A lot of fun teaching, especially now, you know, with a lot of trainers and coaches on a temporary hiatus from, you know, the in-person stuff. A lot of guys and girls are taking the time to upskill. Lucky as well to have some clinicians in the group as well, physical therapists, chiropractors, some MDs, osteopaths. So a good community developing on the back end. And we're starting to see a lot of interconnectivity between people just in so many different disciplines and so many different areas. Talked about last week. It's just some of the coaches getting together and collaborating on things and really raising the bar. Like, look, this is the only way that we can win, right? There's so much inundation of just bad information out there where if we can start to make more advanced concepts, common knowledge, and through the coaches we have, I think we're being able to do that. We're going to stifle out, you know, the low-hanging fruit of the industry. We're just raising the standard of what's acceptable to put out as content, what's acceptable to implement with our clients. We work one-on-one. So Prescript Level 1. A lot of fun for me. It's been a saving grace in this time as I can't go in person and teach one-on-one or one-to-many in a group setting as often I've been doing the last couple of years. So being able to stay engaged in that classroom community online has been a hell of a lot of fun. So again, time is running short. We're in the last week of registration with spots filling up really quickly. Now on to the episode. Ryan Fischer rather is. He's nuts. Fish came to fame kind of back in the day in the CrossFit world. Is probably one of the more intense CrossFitters to ever, you know, don the barbell. So he's on our episode today talking more on the business side. So Fish started up a gym called Chalk, and then as well as that, an online platform for training for gyms and individuals. He does a lot on the nutrition side as well. Dude is shredded to the bone. It's actually comical when you see him in person. Like, he looks like a fucking Ninja Turtle. Great dude, great sense of humor. Was lucky enough to have us in his place in Newport. And just, you know, you couldn't wish any better for such a good dude. So if you guys like the episode, share the episode, do that whole Instagram story thing, tag Fisher in it, and I'm sure we'll get a kick out of it. So hope you guys enjoy the episode. Looking to register PSL 1 online. That's going to be up for sale at the moment, so head on over to prescript.com. So hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see you next week.
Let's go with the most offensive DM I've ever had.
Wow.
Let's start with that.
All right.
I'm sure you've had a few. My most offensive one, because it scarred me the most, is I had a video of a person like kind of like booty popping. And I was like, oh, nice. It was like a good looking butt. And like, I was like, oh, this is like very impressive. And then the person turns around and says, I bleached my butthole for you, Ryan, and it's a guy. So naturally, I had to watch it again because I was like, wait a second, this is a guy, and I wanted to see what a bleached butthole looked like. So I felt super homosexual because I had to watch it several times
to confirm or disconfirm.
And then I'm zooming in on what a bleached butthole might look like.
Oh man, that might take the cake.
And then I had to, obviously Google the process of bleaching a butthole. So then it was an educational experience as well.
That was an afternoon. I do recall quite well. That's a rabbit hole. That's the old clear the search history. That's an incognito tab, 100%.
So I know how to, because I've been catfished so many times now, because typically it'll be like, I think it's a guy or a girl or something, like trying to get pics from me or like having like this sexual conversation to like see how far they can take it. And then they'll send me photos where I'm like, oh, this chick's hot, So then we go back and forth, and I figured out how to find out if you're being catfished. Have you ever looked in your story? Like, have you ever gone to post a photo in your story and it's a new photo that you have, but it was from something that happened a few weeks ago and you have to go way back to find it?
Right, yeah. It indexes based off of the date that it stamps on the photo.
So when someone sends me a photo,
save it.
I save it, and then I go into my story to post it just to see.
Right.
And if it's way back, I'm like, I'm getting catfished.
Oh, clever.
Yeah.
So this isn't in real time, or it's
It's happened enough where I have to figure out how.
Yikes. That's a weird thing to be born out of necessity.
Yeah.
I'm getting so many bleached male buttholes that I need to figure out a workaround. Like, how do I solve this inevitable issue I keep running into? Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like 9-10 years ago, like Tinder was like a not okay thing, but now apparently like it's totally socially acceptable.
Well, I used to always be like, you have a relationship now, but when you were working all the time and you're traveling all the time and you're in this career path that we're in, it's very hard to like meet people, like somebody that you'd want to like date long term, right? Like you meet people and it's like you see them for a week and then you're gone, or you're home for a little bit, like right now permanently on the road. But like for me, like I'll be home for a few weeks and then I'm gone for a while, and it's like if I meet somebody here, it's almost the same as if I meet someone somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like to meet people now, the online dating app stuff, which used to be super embarrassing, is like now super normal.
Yeah, like that was really like taboo before. And like that was one thing when I met Kayla, it was like I met her in person in real life first. But then like, yeah, it was a big part of that afterwards was like the online thing, because I was in a different town every 6 days.
I still will never do the online thing because I've met a couple people online dating.
Like in person, like you've met them in person, yeah.
And every time I meet them in person, it's an insane letdown. Like every single time. I don't want to offend people, but they're always 50 pounds heavier.
Not in a good way.
Not
like,
in a good way.
I really hope I show up and like someone thinks I'm 50 pounds heavier.
I need to meet an anorexic person online, and then they'll probably be my ideal body weight.
I'm pulling titles out of this as we go, and so far it's bleach buttholes and meeting people with eating disorders.
Like if the bio says eating disorder, I'll be like, okay, this could be what she looks like.
Right. Is it through Instagram or is it through like actual social media or dating utilities? Okay.
Both.
Because I feel like Instagram's this weird thing where it's like it's a social stock market, and like a following is almost like, because currency is trust, right? And like public perceptions of the way like stock markets work around like mass psychology and basically how people trust the ability of a company to deliver a product or service. But it's like followings are much like that, right? Followings are very much like cryptocurrency in a way, where it's like, okay, I can see. Like when that random like old guy adds you on Facebook and you realize that the only one of his friends are also like middle-aged guys who are into lifting weights, like, oh, that's going to be a big no for me, dog. But it's like Instagram, you can cross-verify, like, oh, he has a picture in real life with this other person who I know to also be real. Where it's like, I've never gone down the Tinder route before, but it's like, I can imagine Tinder is like maybe a little bit easier to not have that verification. It's like a few pictures and a swipey thing.
Tinder is like almost this, like they're almost catfish priority. Like, I mean, like they're like for sure catfishing people and like hookers and stuff.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You got to pay to play.
Pay to play for there.
It's like living in Newport. It's like, it's the living in Newport of dating app.
For those of you out there who, may or may not know me, I was actually really excited to take Jordan and his girlfriend around and kind of show them the area. It really is like an amazing area. If you guys have never been here, like I'm sure all of you guys know where LA is. I'm sure all of you guys know where San Diego is. So I'm just like smack in the middle. And it really is like a kind of an untouched, like beautiful area where we have like these, you like to say like the Stepford Wives perfect area.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah.
Because like I grew up in a place I mean, you grew up in Jersey. Like,
Yeah.
Jersey's like not the most aesthetically pleasing. The shore is nice.
Oh, no, I mean,
but you're like
half my
centric.
graduating class is dead.
Yeah, 100%.
100%,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like we talked about this when we were in New York in December. It's like, but I almost was raised to like be skeptical of money, and like having friends now and being in the fitness industry and kind of doing more on the business side of things. You're like, oh, okay, like these people aren't bad people. Like it's not their, and some of these people, like it's not their fault they have money. Like, you know, homeboy across the street, like he didn't choose this life, man. This life chose him. But yeah, it's a really weird thing to like come to grasp with. Like, oh, like you walked into a coffee shop. We spent $30 on lattes, and you're wearing an Iron Maiden T-shirt. It's like these people have never seen a bicep vein before you moved into town. Like this is the weirdest contrast. Like what are these ones? Like you could never commit a crime here.
I mean, even if you did, they'd be like, hey, like, can you just give that back?
Right. But it's like they'd pick you. The guy with abs stole the watch. It's like, oh, there's knock on Ryan's door real quick because you're the only guy who's under 40 and doesn't have like a 401k. Do you have a 401k?
Actually, no.
I don't even know what that is.
I have some weird investment things, but
I'm really curious as to what that is.
But speaking of, like, a goal for me in life was, you know, if I had ever made money in my life, enough money to like flex on people type of money, I would never change and I would just be the same person and be like that, like kind of big kid personality. And I feel like I've done that and I'm really excited about it. Like I love living here and being the kid. I guess, am I a kid? I'm 33. Sort of. Like around here, I'm a kid.
Yeah. I mean, it's a state of mind, I think.
But I was like, hey, I'm going to put this giant net here in my third floor of my house. And you're like,
it's weird. Is it weird for you to own a house? Like, you first came on my radar. Like, this is years before I even met you. My business partner, co-host on the podcast, Jordan Junta, who's like, great CrossFitter. He's transferred over to Olympic weightlifting. He's like down in the 71 kilo class. Like, just became one of the best weightlifters in the country from doing CrossFit. Really, and like really good at this like skill part of CrossFit. Like, he went to regionals every year in California. Like, go down to Encinitas, and he would throw down. And he told me about this guy who told the judge that they were going to fucking kill him. And I was like, I need to know more about this. Like, I don't care about the double unders of the toaster bar. Who's the Johnny McEnroe that's fucking painting the lines? And that was when he first came on my radar. How has it been, this transition from, like, laying it all out, verbal abuse, to, like, I'm a successful homeowner here in Newport. Welcome to Newport Beach. I also run the local travel and tourism section of, like, this is a coffee shop. This is a better coffee shop. Hi, friends.
First and foremost, I wish that I had social media. I mean, I did have social media at that time, but it wasn't something I focused on. I might post something like once a week or something. And I wish I kind of took advantage of that scenario and like made t-shirts like I'm going to fucking kill you and like just like capitalize on the fact that like I was a fucking maniac. But in reality, like I was a maniac. Like when I would work out, like I wanted everyone to die, not just the judge. Like I was like the Mike Tyson of working out. Like, don't talk to me in the back. Like, I don't care if your mom just died yesterday. I'm not sorry. Like, you're going to die today and you're going to fucking meet her tonight. So, like, I mean, it was literally like I wanted to work out to the point where it was, like, impressive to watch. You're like, this guy is going to die. Like, and I have videos and photos of me completely laid out with IVs in my body and, like, oxygen tanks. And, like, I'll show you one of the photos, and it was an event that I was like, I'm going to get the world record on this, and I don't care if I die doing it. And it was in 2012. And it was in California in Pomona Fairgrounds, hot, 110 degrees outside, blacktop ground. And Rich Froning had the world record indoors, fucking AC and everything. And I did this workout and got the world record and just went straight to a stretcher. But I won. And, like, that was who I was. And people got excited to see that person compete. And then there was a point in my life where I didn't like my job and I didn't like what was going on. And I thought that, like, you know, I could quit and go get another job, no problem. And a couple months went by and I couldn't get a job. And, you know, I wound up sleeping on couches and in cars and all of these things and lost everything. And as I was trying to build things back, you know, I wound up being at regionals, and I should have went to the CrossFit Games that year because the year before I got fourth, which was only one place off the games. And had I even gotten like 26th, I think, in the deadlift event that I was in, I still would have went to the games. And obviously I got like last, and I was in first place. Like I was going to destroy that workout. I was the only person at regionals that had a 600-pound deadlift, and it was 315 for 45 reps. And I was just ripping through it. And in that moment, my whole life just, you know, came in just all into one vision in my mind, 3-minute workout. And I was like, you actually need to die. Like in my mind. And I actually don't even remember saying it. I just see it on the video. Like when you go to YouTube, you're like, oh yeah, he's telling him he's going to kill him. And I'm like, in my mind, like when it all happened, I just was like, it just total blackout. I was like, I just don't know what to do right now. You're stealing my life away from me. But I look back at it now, that was 2013, it was like 7 years ago. I think it was the best thing that ever happened to me because whatever energy I was able to consume in that moment just transferred into everything. Like when I did business, I wanted everyone to die in business. Like when I did open my gym, I wanted every other gym to die. You know what I mean? Like I was so passionate about everything. And I think that's what like a lot of people started to follow me. I actually got like all these people who hated me followed me because they hated me. And then they're like, damn, this guy's really fucking cool. And if you follow me now, I'm probably one of the most grateful people you'll ever meet. I'll like cry on videos and shit now. Like I'm still a maniac in other aspects of my life, but I'm still super grateful for what I have. And I like to look back and give to the person I was when I was like 24, 25, 26, because exercise physiology degree in college, I got another degree in nutrition. I was smart. I did a lot of things right. I just wanted a career in fitness, and everyone told me you better love it because you're never going to make any money. And I was like, well, fuck, I do love it. I guess I don't care. But then one day I figured out how to make money doing it. And now it's like, I want everyone to know that you can do what you love and still live in the same house as the doctor and still have that same lifestyle if you want it. And I think that's so cool. You know, like I want to be more than just the athlete. I want to be more than just the business guy. I want to be like the cool fitness dude and Gary Vee and, you know, the guy that owns this cool business and all these things because I just think it's rad.
Yeah, there's a weird stigma around money and the fitness industry and basically anything that you can be passionate about to the point of like wanting to like take your own life over it. Like anyone who's pushed themselves for something, it doesn't have to be fitness, like willing to like lay out on your shield. Like one of my favorite athletes is Prefontaine.
Where's the magazine?
Where's the magazine?
Where'd it go?
I don't know. I probably stole it. Does that have Pre on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like what was his quote? My favorite quote of all time from an athlete. Like my favorite athletes are in sports that I don't play. Like, look at me. I stopped running when people stopped chasing me. But when I heard, it was my college roommate told me about this guy.
Did we talk about this?
I don't know. Did we?
Steve Prefontaine's my all-time favorite athlete.
I don't think we did.
So when I say, like, where is it? I'm looking around. I bought I have the 1970 Sports Illustrated magazine with Prefontaine on the cover.
Really?
Swear to God, I have it. It's got to be in that cabinet.
Yeah, like his quote was, you know, and this mid-distance runners, as you get to work with athletes, you realize that they're sadistic fucks. But like his quote of best pace is a suicide pace, and today's feels like a good day to die. It's like,
or someone may beat me, but they have to bleed to do it.
Right. Like we're talking about running on a track, but to him it was more than that. Like if we're talking about a 315 deadlift for 45 reps, but it's like, I think if you can, because most people don't have that. Like I think as you go through and you meet a lot of people who like, we talked about this earlier, like how many people message you and like want the life you have. It's like, well, do you really want it though? And not like for a point of like questioning their dedication, but it's like questioning the amount of passion they have for it. Like, are you willing to sleep on the couch? Are you willing to take that to the hospital? Like, are you willing to tear shit off the bone? It's like most people are like, no, you do that, and I'll sit here and you just post about it, and I'll watch from afar.
But I think what really deters a lot of people is they're like, okay, for me to get to that level, I have to be the best athlete in the world. I have to be the best chiropractor in the world. I have to be the best physical therapist in the world. I have to be the best teacher in the world. I didn't win the CrossFit Games, right? Like, I didn't become the best athlete in the world. You know, I mean, I did very, very well. And now, like, financially, I probably do better than some of the best athletes in the world. But, like, it's more of your story and how you get there and the why behind it and the energy that you put out into the world and stuff like that. Like, just because I was willing to die in that workout or a workout, or I was willing to die for anything I ever did, doesn't mean I necessarily had to be the best person in the world to have that mentality. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I can't be successful in my own business, like, with that mentality. So I think a lot of people are like, well, I can't do it because I'm not at that level. It's like, no, like, you can win, like, in other areas of your life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always so surprised that I was able to build what I built without being the best athlete in the world. You know what I mean?
Well, like, I look at it, this is like a weird parallel to draw. Like, have you ever watched an animated movie and the animated movie is like too close to real life? Like, I think a Polar Express is like a really strange movie because it's like, okay, that's kind of Tom Hanks, but it's not Tom Hanks. Do you know what I'm talking about? Well, there's a phenomenon around that. Like, and in like me and Laura were talking about this like a few weeks ago, like about when animations are too close. There's a statistical what's it called? The Valley of who was it talking? Was it you? There's like a term to it where it's like there's a point of like how realistic an animation is, and it's unlikable anymore. Right? Like if it's too realistic within a certain percentage of how you can quantify facial features and things like that, it's actually off-putting to the viewer. Where it's like, that's why Homer Simpson has a yellow face and Marge has tall blue hair. It's like, walk around Newport, like no one has that. They're so unlike us that they're likable. And I think when people start to be too superlative, like it can be hard as like the top in the world, I think, to be accessible to the realistic people, to an audience or to a customer base, right? Where it's like most people can then just share in the experience of trying to just be better than yourself, kind of this noble pursuit. Where it's like, I think LeBron James would have a hard time really selling, or Michael Phelps would have a hard time really selling, or Usain Bolt would have a hard time really selling running camps and running programs. Because it's like, unless that comes with leg extenders and hand paddles, it's like, I'm not fucking running or swimming anywhere like you, right? So I think it's something about like, and it's a sense of attainability. We're like, yeah, like this dude came from Jersey. Like, it's not like he grew up in Newport. Now he lives in Newport. Like, I think the scarcity that leads people to think, like, from more of a socioeconomic standpoint, that you can't move up the ladder is like, nah, it's probably more accessible now than ever.
That relatability is massive. And I kind of like drifted into that because I know that you wanted to eventually talk about kind of business stuff. So we talked about bleached buttholes, and
it's full circle, man.
we gotta pull you guys in somehow. The first couple minutes has to be. I think those are all really good points, and I think that a lot of it's good to make that point because I think a lot of people are always, they feel like they're at a disadvantage when they're actually at an advantage. Like, your disadvantage of life is your biggest advantage in business.
Have you ever read the David and Goliath book by Malcolm Gladwell?
Oh, I have not, but I know all of Malcolm Gladwell's books are insane.
Yeah, it's just perspective, right? Like, that's where a lot of people just have that negative frame shift that just sets them. Like, he tells the story, and I really like the imagery of like the shepherd, right? Like, especially in the fitness industry, like this wolf, oh, you're sheep, and every Monday there's like a guy posts a video of like a lion killing something. And it's like, that's like kind of this hierarchy mentality that people have. But like the people who do really well in the fitness industry from a business perspective, I see them more as like shepherds, right? Like, and the story of David and Goliath tells the story of David the shepherd killing Goliath, and that he's not small to a disadvantage, and Goliath is not big to an advantage. Goliath has acromegaly, he has gigantism. Like, he has an issue with his posterior pituitary. He can't see well because giants can't see well. Like, Andre the Giant, rest his soul, wasn't really at an advantage being that large as a human being, right? And he tells the story of the shepherd David. It's like, look, shepherds were bad motherfuckers, man. Like, he had to lead his sheep and kill anything that got in his path. Right? And that's what people do. Like, I think that's what successful people in the fitness industry do. They don't have this wolf mentality and they go after sheep. They herd and they sort of lead their people. And the only way to do that is if you can identify, like, look, here's a path that I've walked and I can bring you with me. And it's the people who, you know, like, what path did Michael Phelps have to walk? He has a wingspan of 737. It's like, you can't teach me how to swim, you know, like this thing's
and his
like
feet, like, he has so many weird characteristics.
Yeah, it's like if you went into a lab, right? But like the likability of being attainable can reach way more people and have greater like impact on people.
Yeah, but I mean, I told you that my newest thing is like a social media company where I run other people's ads and kind of promote their businesses. And, you know, I basically, what I did to myself, I'm just kind of like doing to other people and promoting their brands. And I have these people who have like millions of followers. And then I have people who have like 50,000, 100,000, and they make more money than the people with millions. And it's like the people with millions are getting 50,000 likes on a photo or like all these different things. And a lot of people see that as like completely unattainable. And maybe it is, but it's not financially like crushing.
Wait, you didn't pay for this with likes? You didn't show up with a duffel bag full of likes? It's like, yeah, it's Newport. Looks good. Yeah, I got 50,000 subs on YouTube. What'll that get me?
Yeah, you tell the real estate agent, yeah, I have 100,000 likes.
Can we broker a deal here? Some sort of brand partnership thing? I'll tag you. I promise I'll tag you 4 stories a month. How many shit contracts have you seen where it's like, oh, this is revenue. This is social capital now. Did you struggle coming out of the athletic space and being someone like to go from like I want to die for this workout to I want to kill people in business? Was that a struggle like in a transitional sense?
I would say I probably would cry myself to sleep like once a week for like 3 months. And then I was like, okay, it's fine. I'm going to make this work. I'm going to love it as much as I love killing myself in the gym. Because eventually what happened to me was, well, one, I was never going to do well in the sport because of that scenario. Like, they would always judge me poorly.
Oh, wait, because you told someone that you're going to fucking kill them.
Well, dude, I remember there's another, I think the regionals the following year. Oh, you know what? I got banned for a year. 2 years later. For those of you who don't know, I got banned the next year because I was at another competition and the drug tester came to my gym and he's like, hey, I'm at your gym. Can you come here? And I was like, no, I'm like 3 miles down the road at this giant parking lot working out at this competition called the OC Throwdown. You guys, you're more than welcome to come here and test me. And he's like, oh, I'll come tomorrow. And then I'm like, all right, cool. So the next day comes, he texts me. He's like, I'm at your gym again. I was like, no, motherfucker, I'm at the event. And then he goes, I'm no longer able to meet you today. Or I get this failed drug test all posted everywhere on CrossFit. And in reality, I didn't fail. It wasn't there. And then I took the series of text messages. I even left the text number of the guy, everything, posted it all over social media, and paid for ads to promote it. And I was like, fuck these people, you know? And then CrossFit got really, really mad at me. But whatever, I just wanted to prove my innocence that didn't happen at all. And I mean, I think what's funny is a lot of people like to accuse me of drugs because of the way that I look with my shirt off. But like because of the incident, and I competed for another maybe 4 years after that. I mean, I was the most drug tested person in the entire sport. Like I couldn't take a drug. I couldn't even take an overdose of Tylenol, like without them fucking probably rear-ending me. So like I never did anything. But during that time, you know, I would go to a competition and instead of one judge, I would have like 3. And then like I remember being at a regional event where one of the judges for like Josh Bridges or one of the other big athletes stopped judging him and came over to judge me as like an extra person. And I was like, well, was he counting his own reps right now? Like, what the fuck is happening?
Seriously?
I was like, what is going on? Like, they really want...
What's there to judge?
They wanted me to freak out again, I think, you know? So, whatever. Like, I started to feel that it wasn't going to be fair. And then during that time, I just loved training. I didn't give a fuck. So I was still trying to hit bigger lifts. I was still trying to do more muscle ups, still just trying to be, you know, a badass crosser. That's what I love to do. But my left knee started to like deteriorate more and more and more and more. So I have no meniscus, no cartilage in my left knee. And I competed on that for probably like 3 years in just ungodly amount of pain. Like I don't think people understand how much pain I was in my last 3 years. And then one day I have a video of me snatching like 295 and I'm totally crooked. I actually have it on my phone. I didn't feel crooked, but I watched the video and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm going to snap my hip or like something else. So I'm done. Like the video itself that I watched is the reason why I retired.
Really?
Yeah. So like I literally went from that video to like within 5 minutes, I was like, I'm done.
We're done here.
And then I was like, I'm done. And I told everyone in the gym, like, I'm done. It was like right before the open. And everyone's like, you going to do the open? Like, blah, blah, blah. We're going to watch you. And I was like, no, I'm done. And they're like, this doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm done. And I would show people the video and they're like, okay. And then that was when I got like really upset and like, you know, depressed for like 3 months. And then I was like, all right, well, I have this really cool gym and a lot of people love it. I'm just going to start promoting what we do in the gym. And I started, like, I had already had the Chalk Online programming, which was, for those of you who don't know, it's like basically it's what we do in the gym. But, you know, my first year open as a gym, I did something that like no other gyms had ever done. Like my first year open, I had over 300 members. My first day open, I had over 100. And for a CrossFit gym, like most people wanted to get 100 after a year. And it was basically because of the style of working out that I promoted. And it's kind of the style of working out that I still promote is I mix in like bodybuilding with aggressive conditioning. And I mix in these old articles from like Pat O'Shea from the 1970s, which is old school interval weightlifting. And for those of you who have ever seen the movie 300, like when those athletes came onto the Men's Fitness magazine, Men's Health magazine, everybody was like, what the fuck did these guys do? Like the entire movie is ripped. The fucking guy with the camera's ripped. Like everybody is ripped. The kid's 7 months old and he's shredded. Like it was the most groundbreaking film of all time for people who were ripped. And the trainer was a guy named Mark Twight who owned something called Jim Jones, which is a huge
100%. Yeah, of course.
So I started looking into this, and you know, I just want to be part of this whole Jim Jones thing. And I live in Utah at the time. I was going to University of Utah, and I was actually training on the Olympic team for bobsled and skeleton. And during that time, that was when I found out what interval weight training was, because that was his big premise. And then he had this huge kind of like head, you know, kind of knocking ideologies in the fitness realm with Greg Glassman, and they kind of broke apart. He started his own seminars. Greg started CrossFit Level 1s, and all this thing happened. And I think it's funny that a lot of people don't realize that all of this came from old school interval weight training from Pat O'Shea. And if you look at it, it produced some of the best results like anyone's ever seen in studies as far as like building muscle and burning fat. And theoretically, like, and sort of kind of at the same time-ish, depending on what your training volume is at the time and your training experience and everything. But these guys were doing like 5 power cleans into a 2-minute row. And like just hitting as many meters or calories as you can in that 2-minute row. And then they'd have like a 2-minute rest and repeat for like 3 or 4 rounds. And then they would do like other pieces like that. And it's like, wow, that makes sense. They did 5 reps controlled with like, you know, thinking about the rep. And then what really mattered was the conditioning immediately after. So like, yeah, I mean, think about how much better CrossFitters would be if they did 5 reps, not for time, and then went straight into that nasty row piece. You're still building your conditioning and you're still building strength, but in like a responsible manner.
Yeah. Like for me, the medium is the message. Why are we doing conditioning work with barbells?
Yeah.
That's a medium of strength.
So Greg knew this, and he was like, all right, cool. Like, this is dope, and I'm going to have my athletes do it. And he did, and his athletes were getting a lot of results. But he wanted to make more money. He was a trainer. So he wanted to get people in shorter windows. So he started doing 30-minute training sessions instead of an hour. And he would just make it faster, right? And then faster. And then eventually he was, he had 15, 20 clients a day, and he was making the same amount of money, but doing 30 to 20. And I think he wound up going down to 20-minute sessions. And then CrossFit was kind of boring. So, I mean, it's not that it didn't work. I mean, I looked like a fucking savage while I was doing CrossFit. And I don't think I looked almost any different than when I did now I'm doing kind of bodybuilding. Maybe don't judge me right now on the video, because I just had bicep surgery, but yeah, I think it's very, very interesting. So I love all the old school geeky stuff, and I feel like for you to be good in what you do, you better know some shit. So I put that into my programming, and people did it, and they loved it, and they just straight out of word of mouth, that thing just blew up. And then, it blew up to the point where it was making 2-3 times more than my gym would make. And then when I decided to retire and be done, I was like, I'm going to put a lot of time into just marketing this. Not in your face marketing, but just hey, this is what I did today, and this is where I got the program from. And then all of a sudden I was like, wow, people really are responding. This is cool. And then my knee kind of got even worse, so I kind of drifting a little bit more away from lifting, like Olympic lifting. So I started adding in more dumbbell bench press, and more I started doing I can't go below parallel, so I started adding in more lunges and hip thrusts and stuff like that, and just traditional different styles of deadlifting, and then almost a conjugate / IWT version of stuff together. And I was what's the most Googled term right now? What are people looking for the most in their training? And I found out on Google it was HIIT training, high intensity interval training. And I was like, all right, well, that sounds kind of feminine, and I'm going to change it to a manly term, and I'm going to call it HIB, high intensity interval bodybuilding, and I'm going to get all the dudes. Blew up. So I started making these high intensity interval bodybuilding books that were tailored to people who like to CrossFit, but also want to look good. Twisted Steel, Sex Appeal, right? So I'm like, that could be the name of the episode too. That was when I started doing books. And then it was really, really funny for those of you who are entrepreneur-ish and you want to learn some stuff from this episode is I started making these eBooks. I paid a friend to turn them into eBooks for me for $200 or $300. And I put them, actually I didn't put them anywhere yet. I had them just as a PDF on my desktop. And people would message me because I would put in my story or I would make a post. And I'd say, if you guys want this new book that I made, just to go ahead and DM me. And it would go from a DM to an email to me telling them my PayPal or my Venmo to them confirming that they sent it to me, and then me sending them a book for $30. When this first happened, I would be on my phone for 12 hours a day just doing boom, 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 boom. I might make $1,000 in a day or a couple $1,000s a month doing this, which was amazing to me because I was only making a couple grand from my gym every month anyway. So I was excited, but after a while I started getting burned out. And then a friend was like, you can put these on a website where they just pay and then it just gives them the file. I was like, no way. So if you guys want to really feel the grind and understand the grind, it was just because I just didn't know, I remember when the president got elected. I remember when ISIS was a thing, all these things, and people were like, oh my God, in the news. And I was like, what happened? I didn't know who the president was. I didn't know that there was terrorist organizations. I literally, all I knew was that I had a class at 5 a.m. and my last one was at 7:15 and I would get to go to bed at 10. That's the only thing that I knew. And I knew that rotisserie chickens were the easiest way for me to eat, right? That was all I knew. Yeah, these things started to happen. And then eventually through time, I just I couldn't tell people about nutrition. I couldn't tell people how to go out to eat. So I started making voice memos and sending them to people in the gym, an hour-long spiel on nutrition. Because, hey, I have 10 minutes between classes. I'm coaching all the classes. I don't have time to talk to you. So I sent it to everybody in the gym. And then all of a sudden it was hey, you should do a podcast. And I was like, okay. So then I did a podcast and kind of did this and would talk about things that I thought were important. I didn't really want to make 100 podcasts. I wanted to make 5, be done. I actually remember getting to the point where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I hate the podcast. People just love it. But what would happen is I would meet people that would change my life. So I would meet people that would tell me how to market. I would meet people who tell me how to put a book on Shopify. I would meet people who tell me all these things, and I'm like, wow, I'm not really making any money from the podcast, but I'm making money in my network. I'm building a network of people who are telling me all the things that I didn't go to school for. Like, I can tell you about, what's going to happen when you lift and what, macros you should be eating for the day to get to a certain thing. But like, if you went to business school, maybe you can tell me how to make an LLC, and let's learn about that.
I think the biggest takeaway from that is like, when you use like the E word, like the entrepreneur word in the fitness space, is like, you have multiple businesses. You have a gym, you have an online business, you have a marketing business you're starting up. Like, that's an entrepreneur. Like, an entrepreneur is multiple ventures that you're starting from a grassroots movement. A lot of people, like, they want to call themselves entrepreneurs. They want to go down this fucking Uber driver motivation, Gary V rabbit hole of like self-help.
I love an Uber driver with a dream. I don't want to hate on you Uber drivers. I mean, I'm sure that some of you guys might actually wind up becoming fucking the next Lyft owner, but like, it's just funny to me.
People are going to hear this who identify as entrepreneurs in the fitness industry, and they're just going to hear, oh, wait, Shopify automation. It's like, no, you can't hear that. You have to hear the manual entry and DMing back and forth. Like, when we did a lead generation campaign last November, and this is still this is really recent. Like, my hands are still sore. And I manually entered the first name, last name, and email address of 3,000 people in the month of November. I had hour blocks set off. I remember being in a seminar. I was teaching at a symposium in Toronto, and I was almost late to the podium because I was on my computer in my hotel room manually. And John Smith at yahoo.com. Enter. Next. Jane Smith at Yahoo. And I did that 3,000 times in the month of November. Now we're automated and it's all sweet. But it's like, most people, like, they don't run into hurdles until their business is scaled to a point, and it's not that they don't have the capacity or the knowledge base to do it. They just don't have the fortitude. Like, they don't have the balls, because in the early stages, they didn't run into these things. Like, when I hear people, like, a lot of my friends now in my circle are people who run businesses in the fitness industry. It's like, they've never had to succumb to those inefficiencies. So they run into like a first sign of trouble and they're just out, where it's like, you're sitting there DMing. It's like, dude, you could have made shoes in Nicaragua for that much for 12 hours a day and made the same money. It's like, but here you are like a year and a half later, and we're talking about the architectural design of putting a net in your fucking house in Newport. Like, that's dope. I just think it's so many people, like, it's the same guy that will take a barbell to the grave on a set of 45 reps that'll sit there, bleed his thumbs on the DMs to make $30 on an ebook. Like, you sound retarded when you say that. But at the same point, it's like, who's retarded?
But it's really, I mean, it actually was super retarded. Like, the fact that I didn't know that was like unreal. But in reality, it was like, that was the energy that I put into everything, right? Like, I wanted to win. So like, I didn't care. I knew that I would eventually win by just emailing everybody and making sure that they were happy and all this stuff. And dude, I mean, a lot of people like me to the point where it's like, they just like my personality. They just like, whatever it is about me. And my 200,000 followers feels like 20 million, like, I have a really good rapport with everybody that I'm friends with, and everybody who sees me on my story, like everybody that I talk to, like, oh, I love watching your stories. I love, like,
big fan. Yeah,
there's like so many things that they really, really like, and I just feel like it all comes from all the energy that you put into all of your things. Like, I answer every fucking DM all the time.
Wow. I do the same thing. I allocate time on flights and toilets.
Voice.
Come on, see, isn't that a little intimate? Like,
but they love it, dude. Imagine someone who loves Jordan and you fucking voice them back. Are you kidding? They lose their fucking mind.
I guess, yeah. I've never thought of that. And that must be more efficient because I have sausage thumb.
A lot of times they write back and they're like, dude, I cannot believe this personal touch. Like, they lose it. And
I'm going to edit this out of the podcast and start doing voice memos like it was my idea.
Well, I also do, so for certain people, I'll video them back. And like, I mean, usually attractive women.
I was going to say, what is this, a premium Snapchat service we're talking about here?
But instead of just a voice, like if I'm in the scenario where like it's like I'm walking on the beach or something like that, I just think it's rad, and I'll just be like, all right, yeah. So like if you do this and that with your carbs and blah blah blah, or if like you're trying to gain weight and you work out 7 days a week, you should probably have some rest days. And I'll sit there with the video, and they're like, oh my god. But think about how long it would take you to write it, and then you're out of touch with life. Like, as you're writing, you're fucking internally rotated, your neck is down, like. You're not paying attention to what's happening. I can do the video or the voice and walk and like experience my life and be fine. And I can just get so much more done. I actually prefer when people voice me back too, because I can do stuff and just listen to it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just the way to go.
Now, from like an efficiency standpoint, like, what bottlenecks are you running into? And this is purely for my own my own selfish endeavors. Like where your business is at right now, where are your inefficiencies from a time standpoint? What systems do you have in place? What is something that you are actively working on improving? Because you have so much input and intake on a day-to-day.
There's so much coming in question-wise and DMs and all that, and like I can't outsource my DMs. That would never be something that I'd want to do because I need to talk to these people, and a lot of times they want to eventually buy a product or something. So yeah, and I'm voicing them. So like, you know what I mean? And then, but there's also, you know, I have these challenges, I have these books, I have all these different things, and we're getting hundreds of emails a day. Like it's nuts. So like, I have people answering emails, and it's making sure that, you know, they're getting all answered in a day. They're getting all answered the way they need to. And a lot of times, they're not, like the people who help me with the emails, they can't answer it, so they'll flag them. And by the time I'm doing DMs, by the time I've trained, like I want to train, I want to look good. Fuck, I'm selling programs. And then, you know, get to those emails. I mean, God forbid, should I work on something new, right? Like I have to have the time. Remember, like when you were talking about making a curriculum, I was like, fuck, who has time for that? And then, like, as soon as I get a little bit of time, all of a sudden, Sonny Webster shows up. Or, like, it's not a bad thing. I'm, like, excited. But, like, I'm like, I have to show them around town. They have to see everything.
But in a weird way, like, does your mind shift that that's also work?
Oh, no, it's totally work. I think people don't understand that. I don't think I've had a day off in 7 years. Like, a legit where I was like, oh, I don't have to look at my phone. Like, all I've wanted to do for a lot of people follow me. I do a lot of adventure stuff. I travel around. I hike every mountain. I fucking ice climb something. I don't know. Anything that you can potentially die doing, I'm pretty into. I wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, but you have to be away from your phone for a week. I literally cannot do it. It's not a possibility. It's something that I literally am like, okay, that's over here for when I'm 50 or something. And I don't think people understand that that's a sacrifice. Like a lot of people are not willing to sacrifice a lot of things. Like in the beginning, you have to sacrifice all of your time, all of it. And I feel like young kids nowadays, these millennial type of people, and maybe I'm in this category in some shape or form, they just, fuck, man. Like, I literally just talked at a high school, like 2 weeks ago. Actually, it was during Wadapalooza. I was actually on a big screen because I couldn't make it in person. I was supposed to be there in person, and then I flew out to Wadapalooza, and they gave me I did FaceTime, and I was talking to this whole high school class. I'm talking about what I do, and, like, I mean, it was career day. I'm talking about, like, social media and building your brand in the fitness realm. And the first question from one of these fucking kids was, what kind of car do you drive?
Oh, you're missing the point. And that's why you'll have a bus pass forever.
But it was like, for them, they wanted to be like, they wanted validation that what I was doing worked. And it's sadly, like, you almost have to show the house or the fucking G-Wagon or, like, whatever. Like, thank God I had a fucking $200,000 car to, you know what I mean? Like, because they would have been like, oh, this guy drives a Civic? Oh, he can go fuck himself. But, I mean, if, God forbid, I like, you know, trees and stuff. Or, you know, stuff like that. I mean, it's just funny that these kids are like, a lot of them expect to start a job with like $200,000 a year salary. You know what I mean? And they don't understand how much work it would take to get to something that makes that. I mean, a lot of people think that they're just going to be millionaires like immediately. They think they're going to be on YouTube and be superstars and all these things. And it's like, whoa, I don't know what's going to happen. Like there's like the baby boomer realm. And I think we're like in the baby retard realm. And we're going to be like the whole world is going to be fucked in 5 years.
Yeah, that's a whole nother. We were having a conversation the other night about like natural selection versus sexual selection and the fact that like the dude who can't throw a barbell over his head and can't like pick up his groceries, but he can make fat stacks, he's going to do all right. Like he's going to have kids and those kids are not going to be able to do anything. But it's like you want to hope that there's like a resurgence of, I don't know, there's a whole like, oh man, I was having a conversation. Who's that guy who wrote that book about like masculinity and stuff that everyone like was all on board with? You know, it's laugh. That's another topic. But it's like with the fitness stuff, because you can fail, and that's not something that gets sold to kids. Like you can't fail tests anymore. I remember going back to my high school when I was home a few years ago, and my physics teacher was like, literally called these kids retards in front of them. And it's like we use the R word a few times. So it's like because it's a politically incorrect podcast, I'll do whatever the fuck I want. But it's like he literally looked at these kids and like, dude, I can't fucking fail any of these retards anymore. In front of the entire class. It's like, because like, if I fail them, I have to sit down with their parents. I'm like, why did they fail? It's because they didn't try hard enough. It's like, no, now everyone passes. And it's like, now all of a sudden, who should be getting, yeah, dude. Like, yeah, that's a thing. Like in Canada, it's like, you know, political correctness and social justice and all that stuff are like paramount. But it's like, you start to see what that looks like. Because people get, like, just like in the business world, you see the people who don't have to run into that adversity of, like, you know, sliding in the DM for $30 an eBook until your thumbs are sore from doing it for 12 hours. Like, imagine not only having to not run into that inconvenience in your business, but never in your life. Like, I failed. Shit. I almost got kicked out of grad school. I was looking down the barrel of $180,000 of debt, and then they came in with lawyers. We'd like to talk about your behavior in school. It's like, oh, fuck. Like, this is real shit. It's like they don't experience that anymore. So some people don't run into their first problem until they're 30 years old. And it's like my dad would or my mom would come home with like the belt of the spoon and be like,
I used to get beat as a kid, bro. That shit was real. You beat your kid now, you're fucked.
yeah, but like, dude, some of my friends who are doing the best right now are like Eastern Europeans who just like they moved to Canada and everyone's like, you can't beat your kids. It's like, yeah, we don't know. That's not a word in Serbia. My buddy Igor Jajic, he's 6'4". At his biggest, he was probably like 245. His mom was 90 pounds. When Mama Jajic got on the phone, Igor got the fuck home. He was like the fucking road runner. It's like, oh man, his mom probably called. But it's like, crack the whip, man. I don't know. It's just the lack of this when you see it, and you can see it in like just the level of quality in some of our competitors, some of the people who are in the same space. It's like there's enough out there to go around that some of the stuff is seeping into popular culture. You're like, what are you doing? But it's like if you only got beat as a child, I wouldn't have to deal with this.
I always play with the notion of like my friend Sonny Webster's here right now is staying with me, and he's 25. He's turning 26 in like a week, and he already does like very, very well. And I'm 33, and I'm like, you know, we talk about business ideas, we go back and forth, and I love having him here. It's his second time here already, and I'm like, fuck, like I'm so like internally jealous that you're making all this money now as a 25-year-old, and I'm like, I start thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think I'd want to change the way that I did it. Like, when I was young, people are going to be like, dude, you're fucking 33. You're fucking young. So it's like, when I was like 20 to 27, I mean, fuck, I had a hard time. And like, I look back now and like, fuck, those were the best times. I'm like, yeah, I did this. I did that. I'm smiling talking about it, you know, but there was some really great training moments. Like, I love to train, and like, I would train all day, like every day. Me and my friends, like on Sunday, we used to call it Sunday Mass, which would be like, you know, for someone to go to church, but we would call it Sunday Mass, which was actually short for massacre. And we would just train all day. We were in downtown Los Angeles. It was me, Andrew Ager at the time, Ronnie Tizo when he was normal still. And like, we were just on the sidewalk throwing weights, and there's photos of us, like black and white photos, like lifting in LA side streets. And like there's bums walking by, and like we were walking down the street with barbells over our head down the fucking city. It was insane. And there was like a police department right next door. Like, we were fucking out of our minds. And I mean, I look back and I'm like, I would never that's worth all the money in the world to just think about that. And I mean, eventually, like, as you start to get more stuff, like more money, like more success and everything, it still doesn't mean dick without cool relationships and something fun to do every day. Like, I would trade everything just to make sure that I'm like have something exciting every day to do. Like, I don't think I understand now why like someone, you know, who's worth like $1 billion just keeps going. I'm like, why do they keep going? I'm like, well, fucking just bored. You know what I mean? Like, the boredom thing is a real thing. Yeah, it's weird. Like, I mean, you have to be passionate about something. I know Tony Robbins always talks about like, there's no such thing as success. It's fulfillment. And if you're not fulfilled, then like you'll never really find success.
Well, that's like, I mean, that's way deep. Like, that's, you know, Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Like, that's the oldest. That's the idea of like organized religion. Like, that's literally the oldest story ever told.
But then people will listen right now and be like, oh yeah, he's talking about fulfillment. I just want that motherfucker's house and his net and everything. And it's like, no, listen, like, I'm really telling you that like every single person, when they get there and they find the success, they always say the same thing. Like, you have to take that as some criticism. Like, you have to take that as like real things that you can learn from. Like, if everybody says it, like, think about the hottest chick you ever wanted to go out with. You're younger now. You're like, let's say you're 18. Like, all I want to do is sleep with this girl. You've been jerking off to her for like 45 days straight.
With the hook grip.
Oh, for sure. With tape on. And then all of a sudden you finally sleep with her and you're like, oh, I'm good. That's what it's like to have all the things. The chase is gone. Once the chase is over, it's a little bit different. When you find somebody that you actually want to date and be with for a while, I mean, I've had girlfriends for longer than a year, or the 24-hour passports that I give them when they come in my house. But you chase, you get it, and then all of a sudden, like, that little bit of a chase, that fun factor is gone. So I think that if you're chasing something that you truly love, you never really get to the end of the rainbow anyway. You're still looking for different things. And I think to become a true entrepreneur, you answer all of the questions that perplex you during that process. So, like, you know, for me, like the ad agency I needed an ad agency for my things. And I was like, all right, well, it's doing really well. So why don't I just do that for other people? Because my friends are asking me what to do. So I answered that question. When I owned the gym and everybody wanted to know what we were doing in the gym, I gave them the online program. When everybody wanted to ask me what I was doing with my workouts, I gave them high-intensity interval bodybuilding stuff. And when people wanted to know how to change their body, I gave them the challenge. Like, it's literally everything I did. The podcast. How do I do this? How do I do that? Listen to this. It's literally just answering questions. And that's like the true entrepreneur way, is to answer all of the questions. So the more questions you can answer, like the more businesses you'll have, the more revenue streams you'll have, the more you'll be able to fucking be fulfilled, because everyone's going to be stoked.
So I'm going to end up like bringing this full circle and just being like, okay, when they have questions, where do they find you?
So for me, it's Instagram is Ryan Fisch, RyanFisch, and my website is actually gymryan.com. Right. So GYMRYAN.com, and everyone's like, well, that's interesting. And I was like, well, everything started with a gym.
Wow. How good is that? Now you're going to get a bunch of more DMs. Now you have less time to do the shit you need to get done.
Plus, everything started with Jim Jones.
Right.
And he spells his with GYM. So I got a lot of really cheeky little words and different things.
You're just a living pun is what you are. All right, man. Well, I appreciate the hospitality. Appreciate you having into your humble abode. I'm coming back when the net's in. I don't think I'm leaving.
Dude, for sure.
Appreciate it. We got to get that thing weight loaded, though. The way this is going.
It's 5,000 pound weight limit.
I love that you know that.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much.